Have you ever been on a flight and watched as the plane starts to move, engines roaring louder, wings tilting up just before it starts climbing? Have you ever wondered exactly what those pilots are doing during takeoff? Well, let's dive into their busy work during this critical phase of flight. First off, think about driving your car. When you're ready to go, you push the gas pedal and gradually speed up until you hit a certain pace before you actually start moving forward. Pilots do something similar, but on an enormous scale. They have to carefully control the plane's acceleration and ensure it reaches the necessary speed for takeoff. And here's the surprising part. The pilots aren't just sitting there watching the ground fly by. No, they're actively monitoring a variety of instruments and systems to make sure everything is running smoothly. One key instrument they watch closely is the speed tape. This little piece of paper on the windshield shows the plane's increasing speed. They need to hit that magical number where the wings can generate enough lift for liftoff. Incredibly, this critical takeoff speed varies by aircraft and runway conditions. However, planes typically require around 160 knots, about 185 miles per hour, of ground speed to start lifting off. The pilots have a checklist to ensure all systems are go, like making sure the flaps and slats are set correctly, the landing gear is retracted, and the engines are performing as expected. And here's another surprising detail. Even when the plane starts moving, the pilots aren't just waiting for takeoff either. They're actively managing how the plane transitions from its current state to a steady climb. It's like you're accelerating your car up to a certain speed before shifting gears to get that smooth start into movement. So, next time you're on a flight and see the engines revving up and the engines roaring louder, remember, those pilots are hard at work, making sure everything goes smoothly so you can have a safe and pleasant journey. So, what's the first thing pilots do when it comes to takeoff? They set up the airplane. Think of it as double-checking your luggage before you go on vacation. Make sure everything is in order. First, they check the engines. It's like making sure all your suitcases are packed and zipped. Engines need to be running smoothly and at the right power settings, just as each suitcase should be ready to go. Next, they make sure the flaps and other control surfaces are set correctly. Imagine these parts of the plane as the wings on a toy airplane. Pilots adjust them to get lift off the ground more easily, just like how you might tilt your toy plane's wings before flying it. Then, they verify all the systems, lighting, navigation, communications, the works. It's like making sure your phone is charged and your maps are up to date, so everything runs smoothly on your trip. And here's the surprising part. Pilots also check the weather conditions just outside the cockpit. They want to make sure they have a clear path ahead, much like how you might check the weather before heading out for an adventure. Setting up the airplane is crucial because it ensures that when it's time to fly, everything runs smoothly and safely. It's all about making sure no stone is unturned, just as if you were making sure your entire travel plan is covered. All right, so now that we're set up for liftoff, what do the pilots actually do next? Well, it's a bit like driving a car, but with some pretty cool added features. You see, they use something called a yoke, or sometimes called a control column, to steer the plane in the air. Think of it as the steering wheel of your car, but instead of turning left or right to go around a corner, pilots move the yoke up and down to pitch the nose of the plane up and down. And here's where it gets interesting. They use another set of controls called throttles. These are like the gas pedal in your car, except they control how much power is going to the engines. By adjusting the throttle settings, pilots can make the plane accelerate or decelerate during takeoff and flying. The third one surprises everyone. They're constantly talking to air traffic controllers for clearance. It's almost like having a constant radio conversation with someone who's guiding you through your journey. Pilots need this communication to stay safe and informed about other planes around them, making sure everything goes smoothly both on the ground and in the sky. So that's how pilots control the plane during takeoff. By using the yoke for steering and throttles for power, all while staying in constant contact with air traffic controllers. It's a bit like driving your car through a busy city, but instead of watching out for other cars, you're keeping an eye on other planes and following instructions to ensure everyone stays safe. The third part might surprise you, but it's an essential piece of what pilots do during takeoff. You see, flying isn't just about piloting the plane. There's a whole lot of talking going on in the background. And here's the surprising part. pilots spend a significant amount of time communicating. They're not just focused on the controls, they're coordinating with the tower and other planes. It's like being in a conversation to ensure everyone stays safe. Imagine you're ordering food at a busy restaurant. The chef needs to know what ingredients are coming, right? Pilots have to communicate similarly. They use radios to talk to air traffic controllers on the ground. We call them ATC, who give them instructions and clearances for takeoff. It's like having a script that everyone follows. And just as you might need to check in with your friends before leaving home, pilots also coordinate with other aircraft in the airspace. They use a system called TCAS, or Traffic Collision Avoidance System, which is like having friendly neighbors who remind each other when to back down so no one bumps into anyone else. Now, imagine you're driving on a busy highway. You're constantly checking your mirrors and signaling others to ensure everyone stays in their lanes. Pilots do something similar with their radios and by monitoring the skies around them. Every plane is like a car, and every aircraft needs to know where it's going to avoid any accidents. So remember, when you hear the pilot talking on a radio, they're not just making small talk or giving updates. They're in constant communication to ensure that everything goes smoothly. It might seem like a lot of chatter, but trust me, it's all part of keeping everyone, and every plane, safe. All right, let's dive into what pilots do next during takeoff. Managing speed and altitude. Think of this part like driving your car from a standstill to cruising on the highway. First, once the plane is rotated off the runway and is airborne, it needs to gain some serious speed. This isn't just about feeling the wind. It's crucial for safety. Pilots use airspeed indicators, like those speedometers in your car, but these are very precise and can measure speeds up to 200 knots. That's around 230 miles per hour. And here's the surprising part. Pilots have to reach a specific airspeed before they can safely maintain altitude. It's kind of like hitting that critical speed on an icy road where you can't just stop suddenly without skidding off the edge. Once we hit this speed, say 140 knots, about 162 miles per hour, it's much easier for the plane to stay in the air. Now, imagine you're climbing stairs really fast. You need to go up one step at a time, not skip any. Similarly, the plane climbs gradually. It's not a sudden jump, but rather a steady increase in altitude as the plane gains speed and thrust. This ensures that if something goes wrong, there's plenty of time to react and correct. Incredibly rare, but sometimes pilots have to abort takeoff or go around due to unexpected weather conditions. But thanks to the careful management of speed and altitude, these incidents are incredibly uncommon. Pilots train extensively to handle such scenarios, ensuring your flight is as safe as possible. So, managing speed and altitude during takeoff is all about reaching that critical speed and then making a steady climb. It's like driving into the clouds, but with a whole lot more room for error correction. So what do pilots actually do during takeoff? They're constantly monitoring systems, communicating, and managing speed and altitude to ensure a smooth and safe flight. And that's why we trust them with our journey, because they're always working hard to keep us safe. Imagine you're driving a car for the first time. You have to watch the dashboard, check your mirrors, steer carefully, and be ready to swerve if something unexpected happens on the road. Pilots do something similar, but over 500 square feet of flying metal and with hundreds of lives at stake. And here's the surprising part. They're doing all this in real time, reacting to everything from the runway conditions to potential airspace traffic. It's incredibly rare for pilots to face a truly dangerous situation during takeoff, thanks to meticulous pre-flight planning and constant monitoring. But when they do, their training kicks in and they handle it with skill. Incredibly, accidents are incredibly rare. The vast majority of flights land safely without incident because of the diligent efforts of our pilots. They're like superheroes of the skies, unseen but always on duty, making sure every flight is as safe as possible.